Okay, so today we are going to do lesson 54, which is on reducing and dividing fractions. So reducing and dividing fractions. So I've already set up the first two examples for the reducing fractions. So they would give us the fraction set up as 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 over 2 times 2 times 3. And then we know there's nothing under that, so that can be assumed as meaning 1. So how would we reduce that fraction? It's a large fraction. So basically all we're doing is looking for the things that we can cancel out because they would equal 1. So 2 divided by 2 would be 1, so we can cancel that. And then 2 and 2 is 1, we can cancel that. 3 and 3 is 1, we can cancel that. 5 and 1 is not 1 because 5, it would have to be 5 and 5 or 1 and 1. So all we have left is 5 over 1, which is actually just 5. So that whole big fraction reduced to 5 as our final answer. All right, and then the second one, we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 5 over 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. And in order to reduce it, again, we're just looking for those that equal 1. So we have 2 over 2 is 1. 2 over 2 again is 1. 2 over 3 is not 1, so we leave it alone. And then we have 5 over 5. We can get rid of that. All we have left is 2 over 3, so that reduces down to 2/3. It's our final answer. And that's all there is on this lesson, the part of reducing the fractions. Basically, all you're doing is going through and making sure you can make it into 1, so it'll reduce down to 1. So even if they are, maybe they set it up and it's not like exactly over one another, you can still look across and see, okay, though I had 2 over 2 over here, so that goes away. And then even though they're not lined up, I still have a 3 and at least another 3, so that can go away. And then I have a 2 and I still have another 2 down here, so that can go away. And then all I have left is 2/3. So even if they're not lined up, if there is at least that other number down there that's not being used, that would still equal 1 and you can get rid of it. All right, so then we're going to move on to dividing fractions. And a little thing that I remember, or I still think about to this day when I divide fractions, is dividing fractions is easy as pi, flip the second, and multiply. So that basically means when I divide fractions, all I have to do is flip the second fraction, and then I'm just going to multiply them together. And so that's just a little song I always think about and remember. And I mean, everybody loves pie, so it helps me remember. So my first question is, or our first example, how many 1/2 are in 3/4? How many 1/2 are in 3/4? So in order to figure that out, we are trying to figure out how many 1/2 are in 3/4. So we have 3/4 divided by 1/2. And then we go back as easy as pie. We're going to flip the second and multiply. So it's actually 3/4 times 2 over 1. And then that can be, we can go ahead and reduce it down. So that's going to be 1 over 2. So that's going to be 3 over 2, which is an improper fraction. So then we would need to convert it to 1/2. Or instead of reducing it here, we could have just multiplied it straight across. 3 times 2 is 6. And then 4 times 1 would have been 4. So we have 6/4, which can be reduced to 3 over 2, which then goes to 1/2. Or we can convert this to a mixed number and then reduce that fraction down to make sure that it's 1/2. However you want to do it. But we just flip the second and then we multiply it out and then make sure that it either gets reduced or turns into a mixed number that is still reduced. So if it asked how many of that, we would have our fraction first, and then however many it's asking for is divided by it. So then our next example, we're just going to do 1/2 divided by 3/4. It's not the same equation because this is 3/4 divided by 1/2, and this is 1/2 divided by 3/4. So we flip the second, which is this one. So it becomes 1/2 times, 4/3. So if we don't reduce it there, we can go straight across, and it's going to be 4/6, and then we reduce that down to 2/3. Or if I want to go 1/2 times 4/3 and go ahead and reduce those to 1 and 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. So I have my answer that way. So you can do it either way. So dividing fractions is easy as pie. We flip the second and multiply. And then make sure that our final answers are always reduced. Even if it's in a mixed number form, it is completely reduced. And that is it for lesson 54.